What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and after doing all of my little introduction trailer reactions for the Zack Snyder Justice League and all the characters involved, I decided to watch the movie. I actually watched it twice since then. I know it hasn't been that long since posting, but that's how long it's been. I also watched the theatrical version just to get like the comparison, because I mean that's really what we're talking about here when we're talking about the Zack Snyder Justice League compared to the theatrical cut. Now, for the very few people who don't know about this, there was a lot of production problems with this movie. Zack Snyder had to actually leave the film because there was a family tragedy involved. So of course Warner Brothers, thinking that Joss Whedon did such a great job with the Avengers, they'd bring him in and he would do the same thing with the Justice League. Well, it's two entirely different animals, two entirely different feels. And so when you had Joss Whedon's touch on Zack Snyder's work, it just felt weird, discombobulated. You had two signature feels that didn't gel very well. Zack Snyder tends to be a little bit darker, a little bit more brooding, whereas Joss Whedon keeps things light, keeps things kind of jokey. And they added a lot of jokes into the theatrical cut that frankly didn't need to be there. Like, they were just bad, first of all. But it made the movie feel weird. It made the characters feel weird. And then we also had Mustache Gate, where you had Henry Cavill, who was filming Mission Impossible, and they contractually told him he could not shave his mustache. And so they tried to digitally alter some new scenes that Henry Cavill did, and it just looked terrible. Like, it was horrible. The trailers that I had just watched, they'd really gotten me excited for the movie, and I even said that it felt like a completely different movie, and after watching it, it is a completely different movie. There's very little from the theatrical cut that's in the Snyder cut, and I feel like that was the best thing about the movie, to be very honest. Zack Snyder had a vision starting with the inception of Man of Steel, and while some people didn't like what he did with Batman v Superman, and there are a lot of things I didn't necessarily like about it, he did finish very strong with Doomsday and Superman killing each other. You have the Death of Superman comic brought to life on the big screen. And then he follows the comics even further, bringing Superman back to life, which we already know because we've seen the Justice League. So let's talk about this movie. There is so much footage that is completely new. But even what's not new has been altered, changed. He took some of the saturation out of the color, so everything was a little bit darker. It made the tone feel a little bit more ominous at times too. Characters. Every character in here was obviously, when you have 2 extra hours to add, you got that development. But it's amazing how much more development you get for some of these characters, especially Cyborg. Cyborg was really my favorite part of the Justice League, and it's amazing how deep they went into his backstory here, and his emotional walk that he made in this movie I thought was absolutely phenomenal. As a person, as it comes to relation with his own family, with his father, and then in turn, his new family with the Justice League. And I thought it was a very, very cool progression that they made. The Flash, you definitely get some very cool scenes with him. I think he was the most underutilized, and I said that in the trailer reaction, character in the Justice League. And some of the powers that he used in this movie, it was so fun to watch. It really was amazing. They got rid of the quippy, quirky Batman that you saw in the theatrical cut. Something's bleeding. You get none of that in this, which is good, because that's not what Batman is. It's never been what Batman is. He's always been established as kind of a tortured soul. And so they were trying to make him like a Marvel character, and you could tell. And it just doesn't fit. So I was very, very happy to see this. There's more purpose to everybody here. Everybody has reasons that are defined for what they are doing. And there's a nice cause and effect that you get throughout the movie that actually makes sense. The story progression is much better. The writing is much better. You also have better CGI throughout this movie too. A lot of people did not like the way Steppenwolf looked in the theatrical cut. I was one of them. I didn't think he looked terrible, but I didn't think he looked great either. But now he just looks badass. Like the new suit, the new CGI that they've given, it's amazing. The fight scenes, a lot of the action sequences are way more in depth. They're longer. They have a lot more brutality to them all around. They made Wonder Woman an absolute badass. Steppenwolf, when he first invades Themyscira to grab the first mother box, that whole sequence, it was probably extended by maybe a minute, 2 minutes at most. And those 2 minutes made that fight scene ridiculous. Like the shit that they did there was amazing. There was a part where Steppenwolf, he's got horses charging him and they're shooting arrows. They got ropes tied to him and they're trying to pull him down. And he just takes the ropes and throws 3 horses. Visually, it was just really amazing. Visually, you don't get much better, honestly. It was crazy. I really like that they tried to give Batman a little more to do here. And honestly, it's still not really the Batman that we know and love, and I'll talk about that in spoilers. And I'll tell you why I feel that way. Ben Affleck, like his Batman, I absolutely love. Like in Batman v Superman, he was phenomenal. Still my favorite Batman. But I do think that they kind of screwed him over a little bit as a character in this movie. And like I said, I'll explain that in spoilers. We already knew that you were going to have Superman coming back. It's awesome. Henry Cavill, I think, has absolutely killed the role. I think he's a great actor. He's built like a brick. And he's a fan. So all of that wrapped into one means something to me. We already saw that Darkseid was going to be in this movie from the trailer, the Darkseid trailer. I mean, come on, they show it right before the movie, so it's not really spoiling anything. And that was phenomenal. That was phenomenal on so many levels. Because it gives a lot more depth to the story and to Steppenwolf as a person, as a character. I think that you really understand Steppenwolf's motives so much better in this cut. And so I don't know that there's anything that they did better in the theatrical release. Anything. There were a couple of lines that I actually kind of missed, and actually going back and watching the theatrical cut, there were a couple of lines, but we're talking lines out of an entire movie here. We're not even talking scenes. But overall, this was exactly what everybody wanted it to be. It was concise. It told you what the characters were doing and why. It told you why they felt a certain way about each other. It explains so many parts of the Justice League and everything around the Justice League. You know, especially Cyborg, when I'm talking about like his family and what happened with his family, and then how that creates the resentment in him, and now that he has to trust this new family in the Justice League, why he has reservations. Like, it's all explained very, very well, and that's what I want to see. The action is great. I love going out and turning my brain off and just going and watching special effects. But it's so much more meaningful when you have a depth of character and when you can have these interactions that mean something. So after a very large fan outcry, thank God they got Warner Brothers and HBO Max to do this, because this really was the definitive Justice League. Absolutely amazing. If I had to grade this, 8.5 out of 10. Easy. Easy. I think it was maybe higher than that, maybe a 9 out of 10. It wasn't without its problems. It was not perfect, but after that pile of hot garbage we got in the theaters, it was immaculate. So I'm going to cut this off right here, and then I'm going to go back into my spoiler review, where I'm going to talk in depth about a lot of things that happened in the movie that I absolutely loved. And by the way, the 6 Justice League members are not the only ones there. So we kind of already knew that was going to be the case, but I was actually very surprised at who they brought in. So that was cool. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it a 9 out of 10. Let me know how you guys feel about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Come back for the spoiler. Kaged Nation out.